All right, so we're going to switch hats. And we're going to move from personal task management and maybe team task management into what I would call process management. So totally different concept here. This time we're talking about the repeatable processes that you might need to do hundreds of times a year, like hiring. So whereas Trello is great for flexible, loosely structured task management, either at an individual or at a team level, we're going to switch to a tool now, which is, I'd say, is like Trello's bigger, more mature brother, Jira, which is a strange name if you've never heard of it before, but it comes from Godzilla. It's a long story. But hiring is a process that we want to get right every time, and we want to do it the same every time. We want to make sure that a person has their laptop at the right time. We want to make sure that everyone gets a background check. We want to make sure that people know the start date and the hiring manager and where they are in the process and how many downstream dependent tasks have not been completed before the start date. What department we're hiring for. Do we have enough people that we're hiring for that department? All of that stuff. Mm-hmm. So now we're going to make the switch into Jira, and I'm going to show you our hiring project, which if I loved Trello, I love this even more.
You know what I love about Jira? You build this.
Oh yeah.
I don't have to build this. Which is magnificent.
Oh, it's so much fun. So what you're looking at here is kind of like Trello. We have these lists or columns on a board, and in this case, each of the cards represents a human that we are working with to get them hired. So, for example, right now, Elena Morales, she is a candidate. Leo Rossi, we're currently interviewing them. Daniel Kim, we're preparing an offer. Olivia, the offer is sent and we're waiting for a response. These two people have said yes, and now we're waiting on a background check. And for all these people, we're doing all of those last minute stuff just before they come on board because we've got to get everything done. This board, much like Trello, you can drag things around, but unlike Trello, you'll notice it's a pretty restricted workflow intentionally. And if I click into one of these, I can see all of the details about this person. Now, there's not a lot of details about hiring a person that I would put into this tool, except we have the person responsible for bringing them through the workflow. So basically the recruiter or basically the recruiter. We have the reporter, which for us is a proxy for the hiring manager, but we can also rename that field and say hiring manager very, very specifically. We have the department that they're being hired into. We have where we recruited them from, and then there's a comment elsewhere that tells us about the referral. And then we have their official start date. Now, what I love here is this is an example of a really powerful way to connect tools in a very simple way. This is a link to that person's HRIS profile. So I don't have to put any of their personal details, their address, any of that info into this tool, because this is going to be a broadly visible tool across management. And so I can get that manager to click on this, and it takes them very, very quickly into that reserve space that does its own permission checking. Mm-hmm. So I can make the process visible while still restricting information, but making that information easily accessible. If I come up here, this is the current status. And if I click here, you saw on the board that I can drag and drop the cards, but I can also progress it in the workflow here or send it back. Or at any time in the workflow, I can say they withdrew their candidacy or they're not a fit. But most importantly, and this is probably the best part, I can click on View Workflow, and anybody can see this that has access to this project. And now I have tied visibility of the overall process and where that person sits into the process right into the tool. We don't have to have a separate documentation somewhere that tells people how we hire people. It's just here in the tool that we're already using to track. So in our life, we go from candidate to video interview to formal interview, preparing offer, waiting on a response or offer sent, background check, finalizing, and done. And like I said, at any point, they can go on hold, or they can withdraw, or they can be deemed not a fit. So that's the basics of this project, but there's a whole lot more cool stuff that we've added to it that we find very helpful. The first is on the board, we have these quick filters. And we just have a couple of example ones here. So delivery, marketing, sales, these are the different departments these people might be in. So I can click on marketing and filter down just to the people that we're currently hiring for marketing. Or I can click on sales and I can see where everyone is in here. And I can even send a link of this filtered view to the sales manager to remind them that, hey, your pipeline is right here. You can see where everyone is ready to go. We've also put this little thin pink band on cards, and that pink band appears. I'm trying to remember what we did, but basically it's telling somebody that they are not far enough through the process before their start date. So yeah, so here, so it's now the 26th of September. We're still waiting for this person. We scheduled them to start on the 22nd. This card has a problem. So it basically tells us if we're not far enough along in the process, and to pull our focus to that, to swarm around that and make sure it gets done. Mm-hmm. My favorite part about this, though, is there is some automation that is controlled by the HR team, not myself as an administrator of this tool, but by Maris, who is closest to the process and knows what people need best for this process. So what happens is when I move it between background check and finalizing, there's an automation that runs in the background, and it generates these subtasks here on the card. And in our world, these subtasks automatically get assigned to the right people within our organization that have to get stuff done. So for example, provision hardware, this would get assigned to Dan, the person that manages IT for us. And IT system access, Dan's got an assistant that does that. And benefits registration, that would be Sherry. Mm-hmm. And so each of those would not only get auto-generated when it moves between background check and finalizing, but it gets automatically assigned. And now the hiring manager can come in and they can see, whoa, this person was supposed to start weeks ago, and we don't even have their hardware ready yet. What's going on, guys? But as they get updated, they can then come in here and they can see, oh, okay, we're currently provisioning the hardware. All right, well, at least that's okay. And now I can go ask these two particular people about where the system access is and where the benefits registration is. So we have now made the entire process visible, open, collaborative, and there's even a history on each item where you can see who updated what. This is a demo instance, so we just kind of moved things back and forth a lot. But we can see every little change, the whole history is there. And we can even add comments to each other like you saw in Trello. So cross-team collaboration, downstream task management, visibility. And Maris has the control over all of these tasks. So over the automation that generates them. So as the process evolves over time, she can, if she doesn't like the spelling, if she doesn't like the wording, if she needs to add 3 more tasks, she can just do that. Mm-hmm. I think this is tremendous. That and the workflow visibility just makes my day.
Yeah. So talking about the workflow visibility, like the downstream, I have not seen another tool that can do, I don't know if you can go quickly back to the last view where it shows every candidate in motion.
Yeah.
So the best part about this, just as Brian stated, is I've got team members all throughout the organization that all need to come together at very specific times during the onboarding process to make it successful, to make sure it's not delayed. So Dan, right, who's provisioning IT, Sherry, who's working through those benefits, can look at all of our candidates at those final phases and be anticipative, right? They're not going to start their process, right? Because we still want to make sure that background clears, et cetera. But that wonderful word again, capacity planning. Yes. Sherry knows that I could have 3 people I'm onboarding next week. I need to delegate this to my team members, or I need to make sure to do a block where it is more likely than not, I will have 3 new hires that I will need to work through and engage with on benefits. And our team members love that, because I know we cannot be the only ones that prior to having a tool like this, basically a lot of the exchange happened in email. Onboarding happened through email.
Yeah.
Now, a lot of our really robust HRIS tools do a lot of this for us. Of course, even ours does, right? We use HiBob in our organization. There are some wonderful workflows that we can incorporate. They're fantastic for HR team members and, you know, all of the different intricacies for our own processes. But there seems to be still very good opportunity for the collaboration with other teams. And that's why I love Jira for this reason, is it's better than anything I've come across. We are just intertwined with IT, their process, their system accesses. I can manipulate it at any time. Like you said, I can trigger specifically through their onboarding. Hey, they in particular will need DocuSign day one, right? The exceptions. And again, I'm not having to take critical time and energy to try to do task list that, send an email. Did I send that? Didn't I send that? We want it to be perfectly streamlined. And this tool does that.
Tools that work for you, not the other way around.
Yes. Oh, I love that. Tools that work for you. Yeah. And you're right. You know, after you set this in motion for us, now, of course, with I would say every 3 months, realistically, we have a little tweak, right?
Oh,
we
yeah.
have a pressure from the market that is changing how we do things. Maybe we need to condense the amount of interviews because we're losing too many candidates to competitors because of the market, right? All of these different areas, you know, the foundation is built by experts in response to our own environments. So as HR professionals, what we have set up, right? This tool is created for us, our ecosystems, our infrastructures, and our processes. And then I just get to tweak it as need be. It's like, oh, aha, I could do that better. Or turns out that was a wish list item. Yeah, it's a great solution.
And we've actually built this for a number of clients. And what's nice is that we always kind of start from the same basic format. But then, I mean, we've done it for companies that onboard thousands of insurance agents every year. And they have a very strict process about the way that they onboard. We've done it for simple small businesses that have a workflow even less complicated than ours. What's also nice is you can see the bottlenecks. You know, do we have 15 people under interviewing or preparing offer? You know, do we need to coach our team on getting those offers out more quickly, or you know, do we need to build a better process under the offer prep? Do we need to automate that a little bit better? And like you said, we can update this as our processes change because we're a growing business and a growing ecosystem. So yeah.
Well, and it's not as if it's an additional tool in the sense that, like, I'm still quite literally physically hiring a person the same way, right? Yeah. It goes from my applicant tracking system. I hire them through my HRIS system, right? Physically, with putting in their credentials, clicking hire to launch every process that's either still in motion or the ones that we're setting up. But like you said, it talks with HiBob. Right? Yeah. It talks with our HRIS system, or we put something in motion. That's the other thing I love about this, is that you can create those communications in the sense that it triggers through triggering systems that already exist, which is so cool. So like, I'm also finding that we don't seem to run into a lot of limitations because I can't break my hiring system. Yeah. Right? I can't say, well, now everybody please just go to Jira because I like Jira.
Right.
It just, it's really seamless.
Yeah.
It's seamless.
And like you said, it's not a replacement for your recruiting tool, for your HRIS tool. This really manages the work that has to be done between those tools, and it makes the process, I like to think of it, it kind of sits above those other tools because candidate is a whole workflow over in our recruiting tool, and once they're done, everything's happening over in the HRIS, but this kind of manages the process from above and provides that visibility.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's the hiring project. You can imagine we have other projects too, such as an offboarding project, where there's a process and a checklist and automations. And the thing about Jira is I can have Jira update external systems, which is really cool. So it can actually write to our HRIS and read from our HRIS, and we built integrations for that. So
we also, for internal mobility, right? So
Oh,
even just
yeah.
like a
Mhm.
transfer or a big transition or in and out of a leadership role, the accesses that they need, the training that come from HR team members. You know, in our particular case, we help individuals work through job status. So visas, immigration, that's a large element of our organization as well. And so this is a perfect process management tool for us to do that, because again, it's touching many more processes than just mine, right?
Yeah.
That's the thing, is it's
No, yeah.
and I'm grateful, because again, how easy is it? I would love to be able to throw up my hand and say, man, I never skip a beat, right? Like I just never miss it, never miss an email. It's just not true.
Yeah.
It's not my reality. You know, again, it's not exclusive to HR, but we are particularly impacted by rapid fire, rapid prioritization, and just having to absolutely context shift at the drop of a hat.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, it does mean that things can get lost.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's a lot of applications for this.